And your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Amish texter has done it again. He's solved our problem with the Border Czar title. We need to replace czar. We shouldn't use terms of Russian royalty to describe elected, appointed officials in our government.
No, that's a point of contention for you. All right, so what does the Amish texter have for us?
No, just get ready for it.
Okay.
Give it a chance.
All right, I'll let it breathe.
Wife.
Huh?
Wife.
Oh.
You don't get it?
I mean...
honestly. But border boss, border shot caller,
I know.
the border wife. Tom Homan is the border wife. Now, he may take some getting used to.
Okay, the border wife, yeah.
Okay.
I know.
All right. Well, Amish, I'm sorry. I think it's brilliant, but, I think
it perpetuates a stereotype that we don't like. Yeah, I don't know.
Boy, you really picked up on it. You really picked up what he's laying down. Thanks for explaining it to everyone.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll go back to border big toe or something. Onto serious matters. Let's get serious here. So I'm still waiting for some follow-up to this analysis that Iris Martinez, the clerk of the circuit court, did back in September. And this letter she sent to Tim Evans, Tony Preckwinkle, talking about the Safety Act, the Pritzker Purge Law. The analysis that her office did, which found, and I'm citing her letter, there has been a failure to appear by a defendant in 67,416 out of 90,872 cases. The analysis that they did, looking at the impact of no cash bail in Cook County. Failure to appear by defendant in 74% of the cases they looked at over the period since the implementation of the Safety Act. That's a big number. And as Martinez writes in her letter, Cook County leaders must recognize the financial and human impacts of 67,416 failures to appear to court, the impact they have had on case processing, staffing, victim witness cooperation, and on our law enforcement partners. Together, we need to ensure that victims, witnesses, lawyers, judges, and police officers are not attending tens of thousands of hearings without the defendants being present. Iris Martinez, clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. So what is the understanding, and are we ever going to get a response from the power structure in Chicago and Cook County other than we dismiss the faulty methodology that was used to draw up those numbers? For more on this and other matters, law and order related, please be joined by Bob Milan again. Bob Milan, former first assistant state's attorney in Cook County, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois as well. Bob, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Good to talk to you and Amy again.
So what about the Safety Act impact as documented by Iris Martinez? It's just not getting much conversation, and it seems like it should be.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's pushback on our numbers, but you really don't need to look at the numbers. You need to watch the first 8 minutes of any news news station at night, or read CWB, and we can go on and on what's going on. The Safety Act needs to be amended, and people are okay in general with no more putting up cash bond. But what they did is they took discretion away from the judges on a lot of matters. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
let's say guy commits first-degree murder, convicted in 1998. He serves his 20 years. He does. He gets out in 2018. He does his parole to 2021, and then he steals a car. He gets caught in a stolen car, or he, for whatever reason, walks up to somebody and punches him right in the face, and on the street, knocks a woman down on the street, punches in the face for no reason. That person cannot, under the current Safety Act, be held in custody. He cannot be held in custody awaiting trial. And I think most people would say, wait a minute, convicted murderer out on the street, steals a car again, and he can't be held, or punches a person in the face. And we can go on and on. I can give you dozens and dozens of crazy examples. But the fact of the matter is, you're seeing every day people on electronic monitoring committing carjackings and robberies and armed robberies, even when they're on electronic monitoring. We saw recently a police officer killed in the line of duty by a man who was wearing an ankle bracelet from a different county. And you would think that responsible elected officials would come forward and say, let's tweak this. And so what they should do is say, give judges discretion to hold people in custody for any offense from a Class A misdemeanor and up, based on not only the crime they're currently charged with, but based on their past criminal conduct. And they can't do that now. It's ridiculous. And going back to your point on not showing up for court, I got in more trouble at St. Ignatius High School for missing class than these guys get for missing their felony court dates, right? And because of the way the Safety Act is written. So they have to amend it so that a judge has discretion. If you don't show up to court, I can take you into custody on the very first time, and that's the way it's going to be. Not all judges are going to do it, but you should make the amendment and at least give them discretion. That's what we're paying them for, these judges. We're paying them to use their judgment and discretion to the streets.
On the issue of pretrial detention, I hear what you're saying about the law as it stands and the infirmities there. But in addition to that, what is your assessment of how aggressive prosecutors and judges are in the areas where there is discretion in the case of prosecutors pushing for pretrial detention of somebody that is a threat to the public and the judges granting pretrial detention? Do we have, is there enough push in that direction where there is established discretion?
No, there's not. There's some judges that are very good. They realize this person is dangerous. This person's never going to stop committing crimes, and I got to get this person off the street. And under the statute, because of whatever the charge the person's charged with, you can take them off the street, and those judges will hold them. There's others that are letting people out left and right, and it's unbelievable, and they get away with it.
But why?
No, there's no public entity. I don't understand it. This political agenda that started, 8 years ago, in which it's all about letting people out of jail, and a lot of it had to be with minorities. Let minorities out, get them out of Cook County Jail. Don't hold them pre-trial, right? But who did that hurt? It hurt their own communities, because these guys go back out and they offend and offend and offend over and over again. Minority people, right? So these crimes keep getting committed in the South and West sides, and it's unbelievable what people have to put up with out there. And so this carries on. So when you have something like the Safety Act passed, which is a misnomer, by the way, it doesn't increase safety at all. It's the opposite. But when you have this Safety Act, it sends a message to the judges: hey, let these guys out. If there's any way you can let them out, let them out. And some of them do. Some of them let them out every chance they get, no matter what their criminal background is.
So it's a problem not just at the leadership level in Cook County State's Attorney's Office, but with the chief judge, with the Cook County Board President, the entire power, with the mayor, power structure.
They're watching the same news stories I'm watching. They're reading the same newspapers I'm reading. They're they have CWB. They look at it. They see what's happening on the streets, and they're allowing it to happen. And everybody has a boss. And if a judge is releasing dangerous people continuously, that judge should be called in by the boss and said, hey, what are you doing? Or maybe this assignment doesn't fit you. Maybe you should be doing weddings down in the basement of Markham or something. But you shouldn't be here in Boncourt.
I wanted to get your reaction to something that Brandon Johnson said media avail yesterday about, the incoming presidential administration, of course, and particularly as it relates to Chicago being a sanctuary city and the concept of Chicago police being allowed to cooperate with federal law enforcement.
This is the most robust conversation we've ever had.
To ask our police departments, not just in Chicago and the state of Illinois, but across America, to do more and more. It's just not sustainable. Our police department will not dub as ICE agents. We're not going to do that. And it's a dangerous precedent where members of communities begin to feel unsafe with their local police department, right? We're already working to restore confidence and trust in our local police department. The last thing we need is members of community feel like they can experience a raid from a local police department on behalf of the tyrant.
We're not going to have CPD dub as ICE agents, Bob.
Yeah, and that's fine because he's probably not going to need the police to do it. If the Trump administration does what they're saying they're going to do, ICE is going to be fully staffed, if not, more so, and they're going to be very aggressive. So, he can do or say whatever he wants, but it's kind of funny that here's a Democratic mayor talking this way when the people that were taken out of this country, the illegal immigrants that were taken out of this country, were done more so under both Republican and Democratic presidents in recent years. Under President Obama, it was constant. ICE was arresting people, taking them to federal court, and sending them back to the countries where they came from, right? Constantly, right? That was under President Obama, right? Yeah. But here's a mayor saying now, we're not going to assist in any way. The federal government probably won't need his help. And I'll just add one other thing. The sanctuary city stuff where they're saying, come on, we're a welcoming city, come here, right? The way those people were treated that came to Chicago was horrendous. Horrendous. I was there. I saw those police stations. Children sleeping on cement floors, right? Bathrooms backed up, the stench of urine, unbelievable. Little kids sitting on paint buckets, eating beans and stuff out on the street. It was terrible, right? But major news media wasn't there showing it. It was a disgrace. And they act like they use that word sanctuary. Come here, it's a great life. Yeah, you're going to sleep on a sidewalk in front of a Chicago police station or on the floor of a Chicago police station? It was a joke.
Well, and then we had 23 shelters. We still have 17 shelters that are still open. And if you drive by any of them, I mean, I just don't know what we're doing because I don't know if some of them can work or are they choosing not to work or if do they even have work visas to work? Do you know?
Yeah, they had no plan for this. It's obvious there was no plan, and you have recent mayors saying, well, they didn't. The Texas governor didn't communicate with us. Did you reach out to the Texas governor? Did you, Sanctuary City, reach out to the Texas governor saying we're here to help? We have a plan up here. No, they didn't. They didn't reach out. This poor guy's getting inundated down on his border, and he starts sending people to different cities because they're saying they're holding their arms open on press conferences, saying we're a sanctuary city. We'll take care of you. And then when he sends them up there, they start complaining, right? And then they have no plan, so they're sleeping on police department floors and sidewalks, and kids are, sitting on paint buckets eating. It's ridiculous. So it's a lot of this is just a lot of bluster and talk.
Well, of course it is, but there's a real world implication, and you're right that the federal government's going to do what it's going to do, federal law enforcement. But it would certainly be helpful, and I bet a lot of Chicago police officers would like to be helpful to their federal counterparts if there's an ICE detainer on someone and they're not hustling him out of court and onto the streets before ICE can obtain that person and, in accordance with the law, repatriate him to his country. Just the idea of the lack of cooperation, sort of the flaunting of the lack of cooperation between law enforcement at the local level and the state level, for that matter, and law enforcement at the federal level. I mean, how does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but it's the world we live in, right? And and some of these elected officials are tone deaf. I mean, the country just was one of the major issues why Trump was elected, was what happened at the border. People are sick of it. And, they're sick of how much money we're spending on people that are entering the country illegally. So the fact that you're now saying that, the police department isn't going to assist fellow law enforcement in picking these people up is disheartening, like very disheartening. But it's the world we live in, and again, it'd be better if everybody cooperated and they assisted each other, because lives could be lost making some of these arrests, and we all need to work together. But if they don't, ICE can do it. If they do what I think they're going to do, there's going to be a lot of ICE agents out there, and there's going to be a lot of people picked up and brought back. But to your point, it would be far better if all law enforcement cooperated with each other. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, the world we live in by choice in places like Chicago and Cook County. You mentioned in passing the murder of Chicago police officer Enrique Martinez last week, and the family. The funeral is on the 18th. The family has indicated they do not want Brandon Johnson or J.B. Pritzker in attendance at Enrique Martinez's funeral. This has been going on now for 2 terms when police officers have been killed in the line of duty. The family sent the same message to Lori Lightfoot and Pritzker that they're sending now to Brandon Johnson and Pritzker. And we've sort of accept that as a norm, but to me, I'm still sort of stunned by that. That speaks to the complete lack of respect that law enforcement feels from the civilian political leaders, and sort of the not very underlying antagonism between those civilian political leaders and law enforcement, and that shouldn't be good for those civilian political leaders, although they haven't paid much of a penalty, but it's certainly not good for public safety.
No, it's sad. I mean, look, it's that young 26-year-old officer gunned down the way it was. It's terrible, and everybody should be together, at the funerals and paying respect. But the Chicago Police Department, many members feel that the elected officials, including the mayor and governor, don't have their back. Whether that's justified or not, that's how they feel, and you have to respect it. If that's their feelings, that's their feelings, and you got to respect it, especially the families of these people killed in the line of duty. But there's a reason for it, right? So you see these COPA investigations, which are ridiculous, like the allegations they're making against some of these police officers, and they're trying to take their jobs. And I'm telling you, that union better step up and really, really start fighting these guys. I mean, because you got cops, chasing guys who draw a weapon on them, draw a handgun on them, and the police officer fires. That person's looking at losing his job. There's examples of that, right? We can go on and on. This poor police officer regarding the Adam Toledo case, right? Sad case,
yeah. Young
kid, 13-year-old kid, gunned down. But, I mean, he's firing a weapon at cars in the middle of the night. Right. Police respond to ShotSpotter. He's running, pulls out the gun. The police officer doesn't know he's going to toss it. And he fires right away. And now they're still going after his job. Right. And at some point in time, the public and the union and everybody has to step up and say, wait a minute, whose side are we on? Are we on the gunman's side or the police officer's side who's just trying to save us? It is a game of inches. It is a game of seconds for these police officers. And when they're right, when they're justified in doing it, we all have to stand up for them. People have to speak up and stand up for them. I'm not talking about when they do bad things, and that happens, and it's unfortunate, and they got to pay the price for it. But in situations where they're chasing an armed gunman, the person pulls a weapon, they have to use deadly force. They have no choice. And so it's things like that are making families like this young police officer and these police officers killed in the line of duty say, don't show up because you don't have our back.
Yeah. Bob Milan, former first assistant state's attorney, Cook County, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois as well. Bob, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Great talking to you guys. See you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey there, Styles Jenkins. I'm the creator of The Chosen, and I am so excited to share that the movie I've been trying to make for over 15 years, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, is finally here.
Nothing is more important than our annual Christmas pageant.
The pageant is sacred.
But this year...
The Hermans are absolutely the worst kids in the history of the world.
It might be the first Christmas pageant in history where Joseph and the wise men get in a fight.
Now that's a pageant I'd actually like to see.
Based on the classic book, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever is now playing. Enjoy.
Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
The instability of our economy after this election has many worried. Stocks and bonds could be the first to collapse. Gold has been a safe haven asset for generations. At Premier Gold, we specialize in helping those with a 401k or other types of retirement accounts convert their vulnerable paper assets into physical gold. Today, we'd like to send you a free gold election kit to help you decide if this is right for you. Call 606-800-8000. Premier Gold is not a financial advisor. Please consult with your